Episode 82. RP Strength, Trifecta, and Inside Tracker, which we got to do an Inside Tracker draw soon. We haven't done it. We were supposed to do it in December, but we didn't do it.
Yes. Carrie wanted to know if we wanted to do it before you guys went to Wadapalooza. But that's kind of soon.
It's soon. Maybe right after might be better. I've got to travel that week before, so I think we're going to go with the Daytona 500.
Ooh,
outstanding.
that'll be fun.
Yeah, so Hillary's stepdad's a little sick, but he's a big NASCAR guy, so we're going to surprise him and take him down there.
Oh, have you talked to Ricky?
Yeah, talked to Ricky a little bit. Ricky's in a new ride this year, so it'll be different.
Ricky Bobby?
Stenhouse.
He's got a new ride?
Sorry.
Yeah, he's driving for a new team this year, so.
How's he doing?
That'll be the first race of the season, so.
Loretta?
Aren't you from Cocoa Beach, which is like an hour and a half from there?
Yeah.
Have you been to that race?
No, I've never been to a NASCAR race.
I haven't either.
I don't know. My dad went sometimes. I don't know why he didn't. I think he said that it was really loud.
It is really loud.
Not that I wouldn't like something that's loud, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That was fitting for you. Well, you wouldn't like it because you couldn't talk. Probably be the problem.
Hello. No, I just bring a little whiteboard and then I would just scribble on
That
it.
would be the most annoying thing ever.
Whiteboard.
Ever.
Like
That's
in the
what you
pits.
do when you scuba dive.
She's got her little.
Yeah, she got a little bored.
That's a great idea.
Gonna go to the bathroom now.
Maybe I should start doing that at the barn too, since Rich pretends that like it's really loud and that he can't hear people. So I'm just gonna bring a whiteboard. And
Every
write it
time
out
she
here.
tries to talk, my back is to her, and I'm right in front of the speakers where the music is.
Literally, I'll say like
can't.
full sentences, and he won't even turn around, and I'm like,
You can't carry on a full conversation when the music's up like that.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know that it was like really that loud, but maybe it was.
Pretty loud. That, and I do have selective hearing.
Mhm.
3 kids
Mhm.
and a wife. So, yeah.
I thought maybe you'd come back from London with an accent or talking about a spot of tea or something.
We literally saw nothing of London. We landed on Wednesday morning.
No crumpets? Tea and crumpets?
Nope.
Man.
No spotted dick.
No.
Oh, what? Excuse me? What
What?
did you just say?
You don't know what that is?
I've never heard of that
A
one.
what?
That's nope.
That's
Silver.
sausage. It's a sausage and sauerkraut dish that they have there.
No, never
Come
heard of that
on.
one.
What are you doing, Elly?
I mean, you said it.
Get your mind out of the gutter.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, no, we landed at like 9 a.m. on Wednesday.
That really is a thing. Google it.
Yeah,
Google it.
I was saying, actually really don't want to Google it.
Here, let's read the description.
I mean, I
I'm
know.
afraid to Google it.
I'm not putting that.
Let's see what
No
happens.
way. I mean, I've heard of a
Oh, it's
jumper.
pudding. It's pudding.
Pudding.
Oh, I
it's
thought
pudding.
it was.
It's not.
I actually thought it was like a sauerkraut
It's
dish.
also known as spotted dog or railway cake jam.
Oh, railway cake.
It's a British pudding traditionally made with suet and dried fruit, usually currants or raisins, and often served with custard.
There you go. No, I didn't have any of that. Stayed away from that one.
I've heard of a jumper being a sweater or
A
something.
jumper.
A jumper.
But,
Sorry.
Sorry. Rich, back to your London experience.
You saw nothing.
We saw nothing.
You didn't see Big Ben, the Tower of
nothing.
London?
We landed at like 9 a.m. on Wednesday and took the underground to where we were going, which was like an hour and a half train ride, which was kind of miserable, but luckily Facundo was there. If Facundo wasn't there, we would have been lost. And
Why
then,
was the train miserable?
I mean, you're in a tunnel
Oh.
on a train. It's
And you're
not very.
sitting.
So we literally saw nothing.
Oh.
And then we got to our Airbnb. Miraculously, Ben had to take like 3 different flights. One of his flights got canceled. Blah blah blah.
Geez.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
And somehow he just is at one of the train stops. We're at one of the switches, and we're walking past. He's like, "Oh, hey guys!" It was
would be bad.
one of
I was
those.
going to say, that would happen to Ben.
And his
That would
phone.
totally
He's like,
happen
"Yeah,
to
my
him.
phone was about to die. I was getting a little worried how I was gonna be able to find the place."
I said it calm as could be, too.
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
like, "Oh, cool. I'll
don't.
just follow you guys from here." It was insane.
He's the happiest, most chill dude ever.
Yeah,
Like,
he
he's
was
just
great.
like, oh, okay,
He was great to have
cool.
around, and
It's
so
a giant city. London's a huge city.
Huge
It's just
city.
right there.
And so the actual Airbnb and venue were not anywhere near like Central or any London,
were
where
outside.
anything cool was. So, I mean, where we stayed was nice, but it was, we literally walked from our Airbnb to the venue every day and sometimes there and back twice. About a half-mile walk from door to door. And that's about all we saw is that little corridor the entire time. The CrossFit gym that we trained on was just off that path. And so
perfect, though.
Yeah, it was nice. But, yeah, and then on Monday, I did a little Reebok WIT photo shoot, and then we got out of there.
Wow.
And the drive back, the drive from the car, in the car to the airport, we passed zero anything cool.
Wow.
Wow.
But I mean, you were there for a purpose, so obviously that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it was a CrossFit competition, so we saw the inside of the venue, we saw our Airbnb, and it was
business. All business.
Yeah, it was good.
Did you eat anything good?
We had fish and chips on the last night, but I have to say, I mean, we just ate it. We just got stuff from a grocery store every time. We did have some shawarma one day that was pretty decent.
Good.
Shawarma.
But that's Lebanese, right?
Yeah, it's basically just chicken.
Okay.
Shaped kind of chicken and rice, and it was.
You know those things that spin, and you're like, you know?
Mm-mm.
No.
Nope. They basically
It's like a
take a
tower
bunch.
of meat.
They take a bunch of chicken thighs and
Okay,
stack
I'm with
them,
you.
and they keep them on a rotator, and they basically just cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've Rodizio Grill. They have that whole kind of
Okay.
little spin the thing, hack off a chunk.
Yeah. So it's good. So yeah, nice. Like.
What did you think of? So I mean, I feel like watching it last year, it looked very much like a regional, and I thought it got a lot of support, and it seemed like traction this year because it did look like a ginormous, and it looked even bigger this year.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts of like the venue?
UK community was awesome. They were super supportive, super passionate. It was really cool. You know, everybody, man, the fans were awesome, super supportive. Like I said, very passionate. It was awesome. Everybody was great. Volunteers were great. Judges were great. Staff, they did a great job programming. You know, I'm super critical on programming. The first event, we didn't do so hot on. We did better than I thought. We got 9th. It was a run, it was just a run. Not crazy about, only 2 people had to do a 6K, and technically you didn't have to stay together. So the people that did a 3K essentially could have walked the entire thing.
Oh, wow.
And because it didn't matter.
Wow.
I mean, if you had 2 people that were really good
so
runners.
the times didn't.
So you could hide
Really?
people completely. So yeah, that
that's
was
super weird.
not my favorite part. We tried to stay together for the 3K, and it was stupid on our part for not really thinking about it. But we were only briefed 2 minutes before.
Wow.
And
So
so
you could have like two like track
2 or even
stars
3
and
really-
2 people that can't run at all, and you'd
and
still
you could
win.
have been fine. Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Scott crushed that. He did great on the sandbag. I was dying. So Scott made an immediate impact on that event. And then, I mean, so to put into perspective, I worked out for a total of, I think, 50 minutes. I figured it up, maybe a little bit less than that.
Including the run?
Including the run. So you take the run away, and from the next 6 events, I worked out for a total of 22 minutes.
Wow.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it was a little, not frustrating, because we won obviously, but yeah, it is a little frustrating on some of the events that you could hide people a little bit. Like essentially at first workout, you could hide 2 people really. And then the next one, you couldn't hide somebody as much, but that was a good test. It was a good workout. But you could hide somebody on the barbell if you wanted to, essentially. So that was, the next one was the standard. The third event was that little chipper. It was okay. Like I said, if you got to the bike, you could hide somebody a little bit. You could hide somebody a little bit on the wall balls. The toes to bar, you couldn't hide anybody. And the worm, there wasn't enough worm to really make a difference team-wise. It was 50 push press, which I feel like is one of the easiest movements you do with the worm.
Goes by so fast.
The worm was light, so instead of
How light?
100, 70, 170 pounds for men, it was 88, 66, 88, 66,
wow.
and so it
Surprised you didn't
honestly.
throw it into the ceiling.
And then the 100-foot lunge walk, it wasn't essentially the whole 150. Was it 100 or 150? I don't remember. Lunge walk. It wasn't. It was super short because it only went off the front person, where usually it goes off the back. It was
like where you're just kind of
it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
The next event, the overhead squat double under, was a good workout. It was fast. Like all the workouts, they were all fast. That was the thing, is you didn't really test a bunch of different things.
Right.
They weren't necessarily bad workouts, but that one you couldn't hide anybody in, which was good, which I like. And then the snatch, you couldn't really hide anybody. Everybody had to kind of contribute. The next morning, the rope climb, handstand walk, sandbag clean that was very odd to me. It was super there was no real fitness involved. I only had to do 5 legless rope climbs and 15 sandbag
I didn't
cleans with a
realize
150.
that someone didn't have to handstand
And somebody
walk.
didn't
Yeah.
have to handstand
Oh,
walk,
wow.
so
That
you
blew
could
my
essentially
mind.
hide. I've said essentially like 16 times, but
Yeah.
you could hide somebody
Right.
very easily on that event.
It went so fast, like I never
Yeah,
caught that.
it was-
I just assumed that I had like blinked and missed the other person walking on their hands or
Yeah.
whatever.
And then the last workout, it could have been a really good workout. I don't know. I might have had, in my opinion, it was another super short, super fat, which that was the thing, is that was the theme, is all the workouts were super fast and super short. So you're not really testing much, and you're not really testing the team that much. By the time that workout, the 30, you had 4 machines, 2 rowers, 2 bikes. You had to get 30 calories across all 4 machines. And then you all do 30 burpees and then 30 thrusters. And like I said, that worm was so light and that workout was so fast. By the time there was any type of like team breakdown, the workout was over. So,
Right.
in my opinion, I don't know. You could have, there's some minor things that could have been done different. The big thing is it was basically the same test through the whole weekend. Like it was just short. Everything was short, fast after that long event. And so, like I said, I get hypercritical of programming and stuff like that, but the judging was great. People were awesome. And it's everybody's trying to learn, and it's hard on team to program, I guess, but it was, it all turned out for us good, but I just, even looking back and seeing those things for me personally, I feel like some little tweaks could have been made, but it is what it is. And like I said, it's not trying to be, negative about it.
Right.
Just
Just
being
trying to be
objective,
objective and trying to, I want everything to move forward. I don't want to get stuck in, doing the same thing over and over again. So I feel like it needs to be said, and people, running
you want
events.
constructive criticism. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure you wanted the same for your own
yeah,
sanctional.
for sure.
Yeah.
I thought it was comical too because I texted Tasia when you guys were on your way back, and I'm like, because it's so crazy. Because watching, it looked like you guys were doing a lot of work, and I was like,
The live stream was good. I thought.
Yeah.
Live stream was great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
I
really
thought they
good.
did a good job.
Yeah, it was easy to keep up with you guys, which was nice.
yeah. But she was saying, I was like, so do you think you'll take, some time off next week and just recover? And she's like, I feel great.
Yeah.
I feel ready to go. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the
cool.
only thing that hurt, honestly, and hurt me for the rest of the week was the run. That was
Yeah.
my quads were pretty fired up, carrying a sandbag and all that type of stuff. But everything else was just kind of,
Yeah.
This conversation is important because as the sports has a really awesome opportunity to grow now.
yeah, and it's in a transition spot.
So I think from a spectator's perspective, they did a good job.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch. Coverage was good. Everything could understand it. It all flowed.
Yeah,
So it was interesting.
right.
Yeah.
And I think it just gets better.
Yeah.
It just keeps growing.
Yeah.
Hinshaw had some interesting points about the run, actually, because I was listening to him commentate on that event when it was going on. And he was saying the difference between, which is true, and I mean, maybe you can talk about how you felt after, but he's saying if you weren't smart about how to do the first run event, because if you recruit too many fast twitch fibers in the beginning of a weekend, you could, obviously your CNS would be taxed more throughout everything. But that's a testament to your fitness too.
Yeah,
Certain fit people are going to recover so much faster anyway. But it could really punish someone if they went in like an all-out 800-meter sprint with somebody versus someone who went the same pace the whole time. So I mean, you had to be smart, obviously.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
You guys felt pretty good after, right?
Yeah, that goes without saying. No, I felt awful actually after the run, but I mean, you recover pretty quick with as much as we do and how often we do that type of stuff anyway. So it was a non-issue, but that workout hurt.
Well, to get qualified for the games,
Yeah, that
number one goal.
for sure. Yeah, so now that's
checked.
done, and now we're gonna do a couple different. We added Wadapalooza, which we weren't gonna do, but talking with those guys, they invited us down, so we're gonna do that one. It'll be good just to get some competition experience.
You
with
just wanted a
Scott
quick
and-
tan, didn't you?
No,
I mean, everyone's getting a little pasty,
Yeah.
You probably
Well-
just a little sunshine.
What were your thoughts? It's interesting because you've had different. We had Dre last year, and now Scott. What are some of your thoughts as you guys competed
Scott was
together?
great. It was nice. He's similar to Dre in that pretty go with the flow, similar to me, where it's, we make a lot of decisions kind of on the fly, in the moment, how we're feeling, that type of stuff. On the run, like I said, there were some times where I could tell he was moving the sandbag faster, and so I was like, hey, if you can hang on to that thing, you take it. And he was, just give me a break every once in a while, and he would do that. And then there was, I knew that handstand walking for me on that event, was it 6, is completely fine. I'm not going to slow down. So we knew that China is great on her hands, but maybe a little bit slower. And so I knew I'd pair up with her, so him and Tasia could switch back and forth, because Tasia's really good speed-wise on her hands, and so is Scott. But it just made sense, and so he was, let's do that. And then he took an extra snatch on the 1-rep max snatch, and that helped. Because
you guys, that looked light for you both.
Yeah, I probably should have went a little heavier.
What was that final weight?
Mine was 264. He hit 275. I just haven't hit anything like that in a while with my knee.
Mine was how many minutes, right? Like, it's short.
Yeah, it wasn't really that. It felt good, and I was like, you know what? I looked around, and everybody blew my mind. We finished, and I was like, all right, we'll start at 205 for us, around 205. It's like 202, I think, or something like that. And me and Scott are pretty decent lifters, especially in the snatch. And I look around, and there's guys starting way heavier, and I'm like,
oh man,
oh no, we messed up. And then we're like 4 or 5 lifts in, or 3 or 4 lifts in, and guys are still on that same bar, and I was like, okay,
that happened.
Maybe you screwed up there a little bit. So
you guys won by a lot of kilos.
It was like 25 kilos or something, like 55 pounds. So it wasn't even really that close, and so that's why with the knee, like I said, it felt good, and I didn't want to push it. So
is that different? Because it was from the hang.
It was from the hang.
Is it different going from the floor?
Just can't get as much pull on. For me, I can't get as much pull on. I have to go from the high hang because I have that early arm pull. And but it was good. It was fun. But it was nice to get some wins. But what kind of sucked too is like the Team Wade beat us in that first event. We got 9th, they got 1st, and you start doing math, and you're like, if we win every single event and they get 2nd on every single event, they could essentially still beat us. And
that is crazy.
We could win 6 of 7 events, but since that first event was like that,
because of that many,
we could have gotten
separated.
2nd still. And so Tasia was starting to panic a little bit about that. And so it was funny.
Well, when you first start working with the worm, it's always different. And Scott hadn't had any real experience on the worm, so what was that like? It
was good. We had a little there was some minor things that we're going to have to still even make adjustments to, on like finding your place on the worm, like forward, backward, wherever you're at. Lunges, for some reason, we got a little crossed up on a couple things. So, but other than that, I think everything went pretty smooth. There was no real hiccups, I don't think. We weren't on the worm much at all, really, though. We, like I said, push press, but push press is kind of it's not a joke by any means, but, it's not. It's not the hardest of the events.
Of the skills with the worm.
So he did great. Like I said, it was any, not doubts, but any, kind of questions going into it. Any kind of anything we were worried about completely squashed. So I think, using these next couple sanctionals to kind of dial in some just teamwork stuff under pressure. You can't really practice those things. And so it kind of gives us an excuse to meet up for a week.
Yeah.
But also, compete a little bit. So
you're going to go to Wadapalooza?
Wadapalooza, West Coast Classic, Rogue Invitational, and then we're wanting to go to Madrid. We're just trying to figure out, because from Rogue, we'd have to leave basically to
Spain.
Madrid, yeah.
Right on. Well, it's kind of crazy because it's like a whole season now.
Yeah.
Even though it's almost like...
Yeah, it's a couple different events, which is weird.
It's kind of cool.
It's good, yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah,
and a lot of experience.
Independence is going to Wadapalooza, and then also Australia, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, Australia one's in March.
Yeah, the very beginning. So it's like, come back here for a few days after Wadapalooza,
and then
go to
Australia. Nice. You guys, how long before you guys going out to Australia?
Like after we get...
No, before.
Oh, I think pretty decently early. I think early in the week, like Monday or Tuesday. Yeah. I forget. I think we lose a day as we fly there.
Yep.
So we'll have a lot of time to adjust, which
you need.
I think it's
13 hours.
Yeah.
That's
like completely flip flopped.
Yeah, that one's tough. 6 was kind of weird too, but all of our events started at like noon or 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, so it was kind of Wasn't terrible.
Has it been harder to adjust going or coming back?
Going for sure. Coming back west, going west is always easier because you get time back.
How do you fast when you travel? Do you?
I usually just jump on the next. So like if I eat even a little, I may fast a little bit shorter, and then jump on the next time. So fine. So I get on their time zone as soon as I get there.
Okay.
Do you work out right away when you get there?
Try to just
get into something right away.
Coming home's a little bit harder, obviously, because I haven't seen the kids and stuff like that. So I usually don't get to do something when I get here. But wherever we go, the sooner you start moving, the better. Just to kind of and you try to fight, especially like we got there early in the morning. Luckily, I got an email the night before. It said that I could upgrade to business class for like $500. So I was like, that's easy. Yeah, let's do that.
Yes.
So I laid down and slept for probably 6 hours ish, maybe 7 tops.
Doesn't sound terrible. Jeez.
And so it wasn't terrible.
That's nice. Yeah.
And then when we got there, we immediately tried to go start just moving around and.
That seems like always like the hardest part when we've gone places where like the first day you're just like, I'm so tired, but I know I need to push through so that I can go to sleep that night or whatever.
Yeah, that's the hardest part.
Climb the mountain in Iceland, drunk from being asleep.
I went to London once, and with a bunch of college kids, and we're like in the back with like the animals, the chickens, whatever. We're in that space, and the girl next to me threw up, got sick. And those are bigger planes, right? Yeah. So there's 4 or 5 seats. So it just smelled like puke the whole way there.
Oh gosh, that sounds miserable.
It was awesome. She was so upset, and
so sad, before they
so
had
apologetic,
TVs?
and you're just sitting there staring at the back of somebody's seat.
Did they have a phone for you?
No, that's before phones.
Oh. That's okay.
We had telegraph.
Was it a prop plane?
Prop planes?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We had
could open the window if you needed to.
Listen, I had a couple of carrier pigeons.
Okay.
You guys had little pedals. You're like powering the aircraft.
Yeah. It's right after Kitty Hawk.
You guys have to do this. Flap the wings.
Oh my gosh.
Which one of the Wright brothers was piloting?
Horrible. Oh. Yeah, I don't think his brother could make that trip. He was like in Florida.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. When we went to London, I went with my family, and I don't know why we did this, but we thought it was hilarious. We took and I know people do it with like other things, so we had a little Lego. His name is Little Man. And like you take Little Man everywhere you go, and you take pictures when like Little Man's in the picture. So we thought it was just absolutely. I mean, I think I was like 14, and I was like, "This is hilarious!" Taking pictures with Little Man. And where in London is it where the guards are that like they're not allowed to like
Buckingham Palace?
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I'm pretty sure, right? I think
there are several places, maybe in front of Fifth and Downing.
There's a rule about it or something like.
They can't talk, can't move.
Can they look? I don't know.
No, they can't move.
Anyway, we were just trying to
So trying to make him move.
Yeah, with Little Man, and anyway, it was a long time ago.
There you go, Little Man.
Good story.
That's a good story.
And then I found $5.
I watched Lego Movie on the way home.
Ooh.
Okay. Good segue.
Yeah. I actually watched. You ever seen Zombieland, the first one?
No.
I'm not a huge zombie fanatic person, but I actually took me a couple years to watch the first Zombieland.
Right.
It's hilarious. If you like Woody Harrelson, it's great. Well, I watched the second one, and it's just as good.
He has a good dry sense of humor.
Funny.
I like his sense of humor.
And then I watched that Genesis with Will Smith. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Where he clones himself, or they clone him. It wasn't bad.
It
was just
like, for an action movie.
I'll watch it because it's an airplane, but I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised with that one.
Yeah.
I feel like you must have seen every movie that's been out possible because you've traveled so much recently.
Yeah, you get kind of on there and you're like, dang it, there's nothing new.
Dang it, what's the movie I was just talking about?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood yet?
Yes.
It's good, right?
Great movie.
It's funny. I mean, I like Brad Pitt stuff, so that's why I think it's good. But it's just slow and just kind of, but it's funny.
I love this. I love the movies now where they just change the ending.
Yeah, that's what Quentin Tarantino.
So that's what it would look like.
Inglourious Basterds, it's the same thing. You're just like, that's not how it happened.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
You're like, you get over that.
You're like, I know what's about to happen, whatever, and then they don't, and you're like, nice, I like it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's a good movie.
That one's good. We actually watched Snatch while we were in London.
Okay.
Have you seen Snatch?
Love that movie.
Snatch is so good.
Love that movie.
Yeah. Nobody had seen it, so.
What's the movie that just came out with Matthew McConaughey? Takes place in London. I think it's crap. It's in the theaters right now.
Oh.
I don't know that one.
I can look it up. It's kind of like Snatch.
Is it?
It's really good.
Yeah. Is it Guy Ritchie?
Yeah.
Okay, so then That's who
The
did
same dude.
Sketch,
Yeah, same
okay,
dude.
need to see it. Actually, I heard.
It's
yes,
really good.
Who was somebody else was talking about it?
That's the best movie
Heber.
I've seen in a long
Heber
time.
was talking
Really?
about
Really?
it.
Yeah.
Wow. But your current go-to is Peaky Blinders, I thought.
I do like Peaky Blinders. This wasn't quite.
They said that Peanut Butter Falcon's good too.
That's a
I
great
haven't seen
movie.
What's that?
It's the
That's
one
an
with-
awesome
Tasia
movie.
said that one's really
Yeah,
good.
it's
She
with
told us to watch
Shia
it.
LaBeouf.
I've watched it.
Oh.
Really good.
What's it about?
He's like it's kind of a weird one.
Shia LaBeouf is like a kind of a deadbeat down in Louisiana fisherman kind of guy, trying to figure out his life, and then the other actor is actually a young kid who has Down syndrome.
Oh.
And
They become
he's-
friends, right? He
he's
wants to be a
escaped-
wrestler or something?
Yeah, he's escaped from the home he lives in,
Yeah.
and they run across each other. And the Down syndrome kid's he's trying to go to this place where he's watched these videos forever of becoming a professional wrestler.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
Shia kind of takes
cool.
him down
I've heard
there.
it's
and-
really good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like
Yeah, I was gonna watch it, but I figured that's something Hillary would want to watch, and I was like, all right,
Yeah,
I'll wait.
that's a good movie
Yeah.
for everybody,
Yeah.
for sure, because everybody will like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So we didn't do anything in London really.
Except
Just watch-
win. That's important.
Win.
Didn't do anything but
Just
win.
went to London to
Oh,
win.
I like that.
Watch some movies. I finished that
Little
American
snarl.
Buffalo book. Really good.
That's good, huh?
Yeah. Steve Ranella. Actually, I've got an extra copy. I'll give it to you. I think you'd like it
Okay.
because it has a lot of Native American talk
What'd you
in it.
learn?
And no, nothing groundbreaking. A lot of the stuff that I'd already researched, but you know, you see a lot of the stuff, and they want to make it like it wasn't just like, for lack of better, well, it wasn't Europeans that
Yeah.
basically stomped out bison,
Yeah.
and it wasn't Native Americans that like it was just a human, like we all did it.
Yeah.
You know, like Native Americans did it to like mess with other tribes. We did it to mess with Native Americans. We did it to like, it was crazy talking about how they would just Europeans, well, just the settlers, just thousands or hundreds a day for just their hides, and they'd
Yeah.
shoot them, take their hides, and that was it.
That was
Yeah.
it.
That was it. And talking
Wow.
about how much they'd get for that, and like it's
Wow.
pretty cool though. It's a
like-
good book. Like,
A casualty of the clash of cultures.
yep. And
You know?
just kind of crazy too how they would like. This was another thing, is so at first they would just, well, the guys would come along, they'd kill them, they'd strip their hides, leave everything else. Well, then as they decompose, there'd be bones. Well, then it became a market for bones.
Oh,
And
jeez.
they'd what they would do is they would grind the bones down and use them for, I forgot what it was, paint or something. And so then it became like this huge, you could just go through out in the West and find millions of bones. Like it was there's a picture of somebody stacked on
Yeah.
these skulls. Like it's like just the whole process is just insane.
Right.
On how they would, kill mass amounts of them, even, the buffalo jumps as they called them and all that stuff. And then it's
Who
a cool.
started the movement to save them? How did that all circle back around?
There's a
after they
couple
were-
different guys and girls. Like Charles Goodnight was one of the guys. Teddy Roosevelt was one of the guys. One of the majors. They were like, okay, we need to we killed them down into 1,000. Less than
Jeez.
1,000
And
were
now they're-
left. And so now there's up around 500,000. But at one point they say there was anywhere from 30 to 50 million.
Wow.
Jeez.
Crazy.
You
But
guys
he also
released
just
stuff today too, didn't you?
yeah,
For Froning
bison
Farms?
sticks and bites. They're really good. Sticks are just kind of normal, flavored, but then the
How did you
the
taste test
jalapeno.
that? How did that even work?
Oh, it's
That's
pretty
kinda
cool. Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. We had a guy that does that type of thing. He's a butcher and makes some bars and sticks and stuff, and so he would send us different recipes to try out. And
Was there anything that you were like absolutely not, and
No,
anything that
actually,
you were like
no.
sold?
a lot of them were really good. We just kind of wanted to get the macros right because you know how CrossFitters are crazy about
They're about
macros,
their macros.
and so we wanted to get some of those numbers right before we.
Well, that's kind of cool though
Sold
too.
them, but it was cool.
Did you talk to RP about that, or did you just? You were
We're working on bison biltong, which is like shaved kind of
a
jerky.
what?
You said biltong?
Biltong.
It's shaved jerky.
Yeah,
so
so
is
it's
it
like-
still jerky, or are you talking like flakes?
It's not really flakes. It's kind of hard to describe. It's almost like, I don't know. You have to see it when you get it, but it'll be super lean, basically zero fat and just protein, which is kind of cool.
Awesome. That is
So
kinda neat.
hopefully we'll have that pretty soon too. But yeah, it's going cool, going good. But yeah, there's the history stuff. That book is really cool because in the book, the guy Steve Ranella, he's been on Rogan a couple times.
Yeah.
On that show Meat Eater.
Yep.
And
He's
so
a hunter.
he drew a tag in one of the only places. There's only a couple places where you can actually hunt wild bison. You can use the term buffalo interchangeable. That's another thing they talk about in there. Like, they're not buffalo, but that's what Europeans called them because that's what they saw over, wherever they were at. And, for years they called them buffalo. So that's where people call them buffalo, but they're basically the same thing. What we call buffalo are bison, right? But people call them buffalo. They're not not technically and scientifically buffalo. They're called bison. Bison actually is their scientific name. But in that book, he just talks about him going on this hunt where he drew this tag in Alaska. And while he's kind of telling the story of the hunt, he'll go on a tangent and kind of talk about the history of bison and what happened. And it's really cool. And so by the end of it, he's obviously killed one. And so he's got to harvest it and get it out by himself. Like, he floated down the river.
Wow. How do you get a buffalo back once you kill it?
In chunks and quarters and pieces and
like
trips.
In bags? Like, how does it even...
So in bag, you have to read the book. But yeah, basically he talks about for 3 days he would quarter this thing. So he floats the river with his friends and his brother, and they end up, they don't see anything, so they have to go back to work. Well, he has like a couple days by himself, and he's talking about trying to find these things, and eventually he kills one. What's about a mile or two or more away from his camp. So he has to bring it down in quarters and legs, and he's worried about grizzly bears and worried about this other stuff. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Stuff you don't think about, and people want to say hunters or some people want to talk, and that's another thing he goes into about in the book, and he's like, and this is one of my pet peeves too, is people that are vegetarians, Episcopalians, pescatarians, or vegans. If they're against eating meat and you want to, hunting, I understand. Like, you have a beef with, no pun intended. you have an argument against hunting, but people that eat meat and are against hunting are cowards. Yeah. Like, that drives me crazy. Yeah. And he talks about that, where it's like, if somebody doesn't want to eat meat, that's their choice, and whatever. But if you eat meat and then talk trash about people that hunt, you're a coward. Like, that's plain and simple. That's what it is. You're a coward. That you can't take it on yourself and actually, kill the, like, it's not an easy thing. Like, people want to think of hunters as just, and there are hunters, and there's bad people everywhere and in everything, and there are bad hunters, but it's hard to kill something. Like,
isn't that called something in hunting?
Poaching.
Well, of course. I know, but I mean, like, someone having remorse after killing an animal.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's human nature. Like, I've killed animals, and you're like, man, like, there's not remorse. Like, I wouldn't, say there's remorse, but you definitely have this, feeling of guilt of, you just took a life. Like, that's nothing to just, not just sit there and be okay with. You took a life, and it's, that's why if you eat it, I feel like it's justified, or you use everything, or use as much as you can. Maybe not everything. It's hard to do that, but it's but he talks a lot about that in there too. So it's a really good book. I liked it.
What's it called again? The book?
American Buffalo. So yeah,
my stack of books is growing. I keep getting these. I have 7 now.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I gotta read these books.
Yeah, I know. I was doing the same. Hillary called me out. She's like, you keep buying books, but you're not reading any of them.
Oh, I do that all. I have stacks, but I'm like, I'm going to get to them, and I want to at least be able to look at them and say, I'm going to get to that one, because then you'll forget.
My problem is, when the kids go to sleep, we all go to sleep, or it's dark in there, so I can't really read, and I hate reading on my iPad. So I actually bought a light off Amazon that clips to the corner of the bed or to the book that you can actually read. So
I'm always saying I want to read because I actually like the physical book.
I hate reading on an iPad.
Yeah,
but I think I may do audio things now because I have a little more time for that.
I'm a horrible listener, so
same. Yeah. I have to read it, or otherwise it's not going to stick.
If I do listen, I have to be reading it while I listen. If that makes sense. There's sometimes
I get that
on my Bible plan stuff, I'll listen to it. Just because I'm lazy and don't feel like physically reading it, but I'm reading it as I'm, it just goes faster. I don't know, because I have it on 1.5.
Yeah.
Instead of 1
that's
or 1.25 or whatever.
Oh, yeah, I like that. That's actually good for your brain.
Do you ever listen to anything while you work out?
Reading wise? No.
Just anything. A podcast
I would. Sometimes I would listen to a podcast, but sometimes when I'm working out and thinking numbers and stuff like that, I can't. If I'm just rowing or biking or something like that, that's a little different. Biking, I used to do that a lot, but. Man,
I've never seen you with
I haven't listened to podcasts in a while.
Anything on while you were working out?
Time.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people will row or run or do something.
Yeah. I'm just, with us and the kids right now, I'm in a season where I'm not really I don't have time for stuff.
Yeah, no.
I'm just trying to stay alive and move forward.
Understandably so.
For sure.
It's awesome.
Just
I wouldn't trade it for the world.
For sure.
I love every minute of it, but there's no anything outside of that.
A lot of casual reading happening.
No, our kids are, because you turn your head 2 seconds and Trice is cutting Violet's hair off and doing whatever. It's insane. That kid just he's just looks for.
You understand that when I see you guys flowing through that and I'm
you've
watching,
been there. You've been there.
But I'm not ever at all laughing.
Oh,
I just
it's
I
comical.
get it. It's like
the kid,
holy smokes.
Trice, it's insane. So in the mornings I'll get up 7-ish, and
That kid.
and most of all three are usually up, and I'm making coffee or whatever, and Hillary's still kind of in bed, so I'll let her sleep a little longer. Well, it'll get quiet, and they always go to the bathroom, always to our bathroom, and it's always a mess. The other day I walk out,
what else
and
you gonna
Trice
do?
is trying to jam Q-tips into Violet's ear.
Yeah.
And she's just sitting there taking it.
Yeah.
It's the things that go, the water heater's downstairs. And so it's right by their little jungle gym area that they play. I'll get a text from Hillary, hey, hot water's not working. I'll go down there. They flip the switch off.
How do they even figure that out?
It's just a light. And so he sees the light, turn the light off, turn the light on. And it blows my mind. All of them really, but him especially, he's just so destructive.
But Violet's
And
like
he
a
just
perfect
yells.
assistant, though.
I know. He's like, hey, Violet, let's go do this. Violet's like, yeah,
She
sure
just goes
thing.
along
She
with
was-
whatever.
oh my gosh.
She's a quiet assassin. Trice is just so loud and obnoxious.
Yesterday, so I was on my way to the hair place, and Hillary and the kids are already there, so I walk in, and I'm just chatting with them. So no sooner there's one of the swivel chairs right here, Trice is walking over it to climb it. He's bringing Violet in tow, so he starts climbing it and starts swiveling it because he wants to jump off of it. And he kind of looks at her, and she's like, I got this. And she holds the chair so it stops swiveling, and then he just climbs. I was like, that was such a good team move. He just had it. It was awesome.
They're trouble, for sure.
She knew exactly what he needed. She's like, yeah, I'll hold the chair for you while you climb it. It was perfect.
She's like, from what I've seen of her, she's just so calm and
she's just
calculating.
Chill.
Just chill. She's the silent assassin.
Yeah. The funniest thing to me is and we've said it before, is when you guys are playing and you're yelling at them, when you guys are having fun.
They don't care.
They totally have just learned to tune you out
Yeah,
now. They're
care.
totally
They're
like,
just like,
They
whatever.
don't talk about selective hearing.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
Yeah.
Oh, Dad's screaming again.
That guy's
Cool.
an idiot. But yeah, Trice will just haul off and yell and then just start bashing his head on the couch. And you're just like,
Dude.
what is your
So much
problem?
energy.
I imagine Rob Gronkowski as Trice at his age. That's
Same
who
dude.
I see,
Yeah.
It's insane. He cracks me up, but yeah. And then Lakeland, now she's all into girl stuff. And
Well, we were just talking about it when she walked by, and she's definitely hitting a stage now, or a phase where she seems older.
yeah, for sure.
And she's more mature.
Yeah.
Some of the little baby stuff is kind of...
It's gone,
she's 6 now?
She'll be 6 in July.
Yeah.
She's fun. She's awesome, though. She's intense.
She's hilarious.
But she's got an attitude. But she's fun.
That's a whole thing, man. One kid, something, 2 kid, and you put 3 in the mix.
3's a party.
Man, it's going to take you and Hill both staying on top of that.
It's a party.
And the thing is, it ain't quitting for a while.
Nope. The two being so close. Lakeland's starting to get to an age where I'm like, hey, go do this, and she'll help, and which is really nice. But, there's still those days where she doesn't want to help, and she's like, nah. Gosh. So.
Well, that actually is kind of a good segue into something I heard the other day. I was listening to Robin Sharma, I think his name is.
Sharma.
Yeah, he was way more I've never heard of him, but I know he's
Is he a monk, too?
He was.
I'm sure he is.
He was talking to the monk. If that makes any sense. But he was talking about purpose and meaning and all that stuff, and he was talking about people that end up living their life in reaction or obligation, and he was saying you lose a lot of growth when you are either where in your life are you only reacting, where in your life are you only living by obligation? Because you can like get wrapped up. I mean, and I think that's just like to the point of like people going through the motions each day, or like obviously, Rich, in your case, you're surviving, so it's a little different. Like you kind of have to live by reaction in a lot of ways. I think, you know. So the question was, where in your life do you live by reaction or by obligation, and how do you navigate still finding?
I mean, I think you should
doing?
never try to live by obligation anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Really?
What are you talking about, obligation? Let's define that word. What do you mean?
You're obligated to do something.
Obligation where you think you need to for someone else's mold. So it was saying like reaction because you're always reacting to someone else's emergency. And then he was saying like your life really isn't your life. But obligation where you think you need to for someone else's mold. I mean, that speaks to me a lot because I'm just a natural pleaser. So I feel like that's a huge one.
Well, what does it mean to you?
Obligation?
Yeah, what does that mean to you specifically?
It's like you have to do it. I mean, to me.
Yeah. I mean, see, to me, it's a little more of like, I don't know, like people in my life have sacrificed so much for me. So it's my obligation to give back, like, do whatever I have to do to make sure that I'm giving back something to them. Like,
yeah,
you know,
I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you feel obligated, are you really giving that much back?
What do you mean? I don't
understand. Then it's just kind of you're doing it because you have to.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
So almost
sacrifice
turn it
in the
into
same
like
way, like
something you want, like
planning it out beforehand instead of reacting. Like obligation to me is reacting, right? Because you feel like
you have to.
You had to do so. Yeah, like something was like set up and now you have to follow this path because you didn't set it up yourself, type of thing.
Say that one more time.
I think you guys are talking about obligation in two different ways, two different definitions. You're kind of talking about you feel a responsibility because of what's been created for you to respond and to react and to give back. And I think we're just talking about, well, doing something because you have to do it. Not necessarily because it's something you really believe in. I'm not really tracking.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I'm not really tracking.
I'm not even tracking the question, really.
I think like when I think about things like this, I mean, it's easy for me to relate things to a sports analogy, and I genuinely have started watching you closely when you lift, closely, and trying to get more detailed, watching where your feet are, your hands are in detailed ways, and then try to mimic some of that. You know, try to pay attention, not just turn and look over and he's lifting, but no, wait a second, hold on now. Let's really pay attention. Really, right now, what I'm working on is cycling the bar. So I'm not doing it with a lot of weight right now, but I realize that if I'm going to put some heavier weight on, especially where I'm at in life, I got to do all those details right.
Right.
And so if I'm going to pay attention to somebody, it would be you guys. And so I want to live my life that same way. That's what I'm saying. I want to be so practiced at who I am, identity, and values that and we have to be careful about how we define terms. But I'm not just responding; I'm prepared. I'm ready for whatever comes. You know, right. I'm ready for the situations. My family means something to me, so I'm going to respond or react, however you want to say that, to my family in a manner that I believe fits my value system. I think you have to practice that because you don't just step up to a bar and start doing it. Right. You know, it doesn't happen.
Especially when it's hard.
Yeah.
It's easy to do it when it's easy.
Yeah.
Easier to do it when it's easy.
Yeah, for sure. I think
go ahead.
One of the most amazing things that happened was, well, watching you, Rich, like when you guys made the decision to adopt Violet, you know, and we were out in the barn, remember? That conversation, you were like, and you had there was a thought process to what that would mean for your life and what it would mean. And in the end analysis that day, we sort of kind of talked, and your conclusion was, well, I don't know how I can't,
right? Because
she's family.
Yeah.
And I tried to get you. Well, I got to say this the right way.
Not tried.
I wanted you to look at the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a value for sure. But do you understand all of that means?
Right.
And I didn't mean it like that. I mean, are you thinking about it?
Right.
And you had.
Yeah.
You'd thought it all the way through, and your decision was, look, she's family, and this is what family means to me.
Right.
So this is what we're going to do.
Right. Makes decisions like that easier because you know that's who you are and that's what your values are. And so you can't really say, if it doesn't go against your values, you can't say it was a wrong decision.
It was. For sure it was not.
No.
And you're facing all kinds of adversity, and we laugh about it. We talk about what it means and all of that. But that choice was anchored squarely in something that you can articulate and say you believe big time. And so you were ready for that moment is what I'm driving at. So I don't know specifically that question, but I guess my mindset is that's how I want to respond. And I want to try to take as much emotion out of that as I possibly can and respond in a manner that fits who I say I am and what I believe. So I don't know how to think of it any other way for me.
What's cool about that too, from what you're saying, is like when you predict what you're going to do through your values or whatever, then other people can predict what you're going to do too. So it makes you more trustworthy, better friend, better family member, all that kind of stuff too. Yeah. And I don't think you can like predict everything out. Obviously you have to focus on certain things and other things are just going to go by the wayside, but you can try your best, Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, you want to be somebody be around somebody that's constant. You don't have to worry about, hey, what's their mood like? Obviously you're going to have bad days. Sure. And some days you're going to be a little bit more irritable or whatever, but from 30,000 feet, your life and your day-to-day is going to look the same.
You said consistency, and I love that. Consistency breeds trust.
Yeah.
When we're consistent, then we know, people around us know what they're going to get.
Right. If you don't know what you're going to get from a boss, from a, anybody, you're not going to, because you're almost kind of always like, should I tell them about this today? Because,
emotion is one of those things that betrays us. So if we're somebody who responds in an emotional way, then the people around us don't really know what they're going to get at any given point. Therefore, they don't trust us.
Exactly.
So when we work at that, and it's to be human, emotion is a part of who we are. So I like to think in terms of what I'm doing, I like to not be reactionary. I like to respond. And reaction means, to me, I'm not playing offense there. It's just sort of happening to me, and I'm trying to figure it out. Yeah, and respond means I sort of kind of have some idea about what I'm going to do. Or I shouldn't say it that way. I know what I'm going to do.
Right.
I don't always do it right, but I got a chance.
So when you encounter someone like in the mindset program that like you sit down with someone and they are a highly emotional person, you just know it right off the bat, what is the very first place or way that you communicate with them? Because that's a huge thing, because if your whole life, you see people spiral all the time that 100% live in emotion, and that's exactly what happens. It's just spiral. So what do you first do with a person in that situation?
Like you have to help somebody understand the difference between feeling and thinking, and that those are two different things. And if they can't, it's tough to do mindset stuff because we have to break that out. We feel first, we know that's how we're designed, and we think second, that's the way that our bodies work. But, I say to people all the time, man, and I acknowledge your feelings. I'm listening, I hear you, I acknowledge it, and you have the right to feel how you feel, because you do. Even if you're batshit crazy, you still have the right to feel
how you feel.
But what I'm asking you now is to think, and we have to be clear-minded, and we have to think, or we're at the mercy of emotion. And emotion is something that betrays us for sure. If we're always just trying to feel right about something, we're in trouble. Yeah. It is nuts to watch you guys work out, to go to the barn where it's cold, and if you just feel right about going there. You're not going there. Yeah. It's not happening.
Right.
Yeah.
It just has to be what you do based on this idea of who you are, where you're trying to get, how you want to compete, how you want to represent yourself. So waiting to feel right, that person is somebody that it's going to be tough to trust them and to be consistent.
Yeah, I think if you're doing things to feel right too, I just lost my train of thought.
When it doesn't feel right or doesn't feel good, then it's not going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's important too to remember that, feeling is what gives life meaning. What would winning be without feeling?
Right.
And what would love be without emotion and all those things? I'm not trying to say we should live like a robot, but it's important to understand those things.
Yeah, be able to live outside of it.
Yeah. Especially when we face the biggest choices like, hey, are we adopting a...
You can feel those things, but maybe not make decisions based on those feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. You wouldn't be where you're at as an athlete if your career had been completely based on what you felt.
Yeah, no way.
You would never accomplish what you've accomplished, and nobody would who's a great athlete. It's just, and we do see people even in the sport of CrossFit who or we know their personalities, and if they could get that part taken care of, they would be really incredible athletes because physically they have
what it takes.
Excellent, and above average ability, but they can't get that part figured out in their life. Right. That I think that applies probably to being married and all the other things in life. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know.
So when you, in the mindset program, like with people that make the most drastic changes, do you think that it comes from people like dialing in emotions or things like that? Or is the gold nugget assessing values, and like, what do you see more of, like people getting outside of emotion, like the feel, filter, think, flow?
Yeah.
Or is it more of every decision you're making being based on like, what's the first area you feel like really, really like is a huge point for people?
Well, the whole secret to the whole thing is just to understand identity and values. Mm-hmm. That's the key. If you don't, all you have is emotion. Mm-hmm. So we want to be able to connect all those things. That's how we're wired. So we want to feel, and then we want to be able to filter that, and we want those things to work together in our life. So it's not, we don't want to be just one or the other. We want to live life with both of those things. So in the culture that we live in right now, momentum and emotion is really what rules lots of times. So it's hard. It's really an interesting thing to be in a group of people and to really challenge them. Hey, talk about a couple of your core values, and they really don't even know what that means. Mm-hmm. And it's not a conversation that we're having. Right. So I think it ends up being, at least in mindset, it's key. And that's the goal, right? The goal is, hey man, if I ask you about your core values, can you tell me? Mm-hmm. Can you name 10 of them? Can you name 5 of them? Can you name 4 of them? Mm-hmm. So that those are things you can count on when your emotions betray you.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I just listened to a really good interview with, because I didn't know much about Darryl Strawberry. I don't know if you guys...
The baseball player?
Saw him getting his bags at Nashville one time.
Oh, really?
Me and Ben Shannon, when we were coming home from Bahamas. We both just walked up to him and said, hey, just want to shake your hand.
Wow.
I hate when people, hey, just want to say, cool. It's cool to meet you. We know who you are. And just kind of walked off.
Yeah, in the day, that dude was awesome.
I had a baseball glove that, like you used to get when you were a kid. You had a baseball glove and it was signed by a pro.
Yeah.
And mine was Darryl Strawberry. And that's when he was kind of back in his, gotten into drugs a lot.
Yeah, I think he was doing some cocaine.
My dad's kind of like, let's not talk about that. Because I was young,
right.
not old enough to process any of that.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm like, Dad, who's Darryl Strawberry? He's like, he's a good baseball player.
Right.
Well, that's the part that was so incredible listening to this interview. Like,
was it cocaine or heroin? What was the one?
I think he started with cocaine. Like, he got on the team plane and he's like, I didn't know better. Like, I was a young kid and they're like, hey, come to the back of the plane and do a line with us or whatever.
Geez.
I don't know how to, it's supposed to, whatever. Anyway.
I don't know anything about drugs.
I dabbled in, anyway. So
I've never even sniffed alcohol.
I didn't say that. It's called a connoisseur.
Oh.
I don't have a glass of wine never mind.
Where are you going with that? It's called a chalice. Thank you. Anyway, so his conversation with Ed was amazing, though, because I feel like a lot of people either have a negative connotation with, it was like that guy that did drugs or whatever. Oh, but he was a great baseball player. His talk was incredible. One of the first things he was talking about was when the uniform's off, who are you?
Mm.
And then one of Ed's big things, which is so cool. I love this piece of thing he always brings up is your test can be your testimony, which is awesome.
Sure.
But one of the questions that Darryl asked was, what has God done for you that you couldn't do for yourself? And I was like, what a thought-provoking question. And he just goes on and on about like, obviously through his darkest times, he was like, everyone can give up on you, but God's never going to give up on you. And just seeing like a dude that's that big talk about being so vulnerable in so many different areas, but yet being so strong, and just a case in point to how he lives his life now was just incredible. You should go listen to it for sure.
That's really cool.
He was really, really interesting.
I think like on a spiritual level, for sure, that's important. I know important to you, important to me, for sure. And then even just I haven't got anywhere in my life without help. If I look back, I actually keep a list. I call it the men who carried me. And I should change the name of the list because there's women on that list. But man, if you start looking at your life, holy smokes, I'm not where I'm at today if it hadn't have been for people helping me and loving me and picking me up when I couldn't do it and encouraging me. And I thinking any other way really isn't realistic for me.
No.
Well, and he was tracking right with like the mindset stuff too, because I mean, he's going on about like, his faith and all that, but he was saying like, whoever you are out there, whether you're a professional athlete or just a professional in general, he's like, are you tied to your career? Where's your identity tied? Is the adversary preventing you from getting to know your true self? And that you connect yourselves to what you do or what your career is, and saying that's not the end all be all, coming from someone who's been to the highest high and the lowest low and now has found like the greatest contentment in happiness, I guess. Yeah, he was deep. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I'm going to go get my notepad.
That's some good stuff. That's important.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, what did you think about Kobe Bryant?
Man, that sucks.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
It's sad.
I was curious about what your thoughts were.
Yeah, man. I didn't know. I know some of Kobe, but, not a ton. But the more and more I've been, watch videos or stuff when it pops up. There was one that was kind of cool. This, I forget her name. She's on ESPN, but she was talking about how she met Kobe and how he said he was a girl dad, like a girl dad. It was that one hit you in the feels for sure. Yeah, it sucks. It's especially his little girl being there, and I can't even imagine like what's going through your head, and you have it's super sad.
Three families of people on
that.
I mean, that was I can't even.
It's crazy.
Can't even fathom.
Yeah, it kind of blew me away because we got back to the Airbnb, and Haley said Kobe died, and I'm like, get off your like TMZ BS, sure enough, you start reading and you're like, no, maybe it's fake. Hopefully it's fake. But when anybody like that, and then like I said, I feel bad that I didn't know as much about him. Like he was a good dude, he obviously had some trouble in the earlier years, and those are kind of the things that stuck out in my head at first, and then the more and more I've watched stuff, I felt bad that I was like, he's a good dude.
The two things that popped were, wow, he was like an incredible athlete. Yeah. For sure. And then the trouble he had in Colorado with the accusations of rape or whatever. Yeah. I was really happy to hear that his peers started talking about him, who he was as a father, and what incredible. That had meant and to him. You could see like saw pictures and videos, and you can just tell the evolution of that. Yeah, because if that hadn't have been that way, because I honestly at first I was really skeptical. Yeah, because I was just kind of like, okay, and then I started thinking about, well, what's going to be said about me when I die? Yeah, when I'm done, what will the people say? Starts to mess with you a little bit. It does. It really caused me to be really. Short, man. Everything, life's short. I thought about it for 41. A day. 41. That's nuts, and just like, you almost put these people on, like, not a pedestal, but like they're invincible type, stuff never happens, but man, crazy. It is nuts.
And Kobe, the cool thing about him is like, not only is like, he's so associated with this unparalleled work ethic, like no one, regardless of anything, could ever say in his career, anyone that ever met him was like, he's the first guy there and the last guy to leave. So that was cool too, but he had just gotten to this phase of life, because you guys get to enjoy it. Yeah, and I love listening to podcasts. You put in all the work. And he talks about like just his transition all the time about being home with his kids and traveling with his daughter. But it's so much now about how he can impact the world in a positive way. And he was doing that.
Yeah.
And then he was going to all these places, right? He writes children's books. Like he was doing so much to just enjoy the next phase of life with his family and impact people. And to see an athlete transition like that, to make that their new number one, like.
Yeah, because you think about. I'm in the earlier spot. I'm getting to that spot close.
Yeah.
And I want to be don't want to be done. Like I still love what I do and still compete, but I want to spend some time with my kids, and like that's and it is my number one priority. But I want it to be my, like I can do that whenever, however.
Yeah.
And to think that he was in that, and it was just
coaching his daughter's team.
It's just that's tough.
Yeah, that was pretty profound.
Yeah.
And
I want to actually watch that he did a documentary.
Okay, I didn't see it.
Yeah, I want to watch that actually now. But yeah, sucks. Sad.
Have you heard anything about the helicopter and the
They're
details?
Saying low visibility, but
I hadn't heard anything about it yet. Yeah, that's profound. I spent a whole day kind of thinking about that, and I'll try to watch a little ESPN in the morning, and then finally I had to shut it off. I'm like, man, I can't think about that no more.
It's tough.
In the Wall Street Journal, they were saying that a plane, a military person was commenting on it, that plane to have
helicopter.
Helicopter. Thank you. Double engine failure would be catastrophic in a machine like that, like extremely, extremely unlikely.
Yeah, but I think they said it was low visibility and the pilot was flat. But like, I don't want to speculate anything because can't imagine. I don't know enough about it. So
I was reading the flight tracker thing, and it usually takes them way less time, and they rerouted them, they made them hover, they made them follow. There was just a lot of
youngest player ever to play in the NBA, 18 years old, and then all the championships, and then
20 years with one organization.
Wow.
But the thing that means the most to me was that he was loving his kids, being a dad, and doing that piece right. Because knowing what I know about being a dude, and having all of that, you could get lost.
Yeah, for sure.
You could get lost and make some serious mistakes and not end up in the space where you were caring about the people who you were close to.
You're in an organization like that at 18 years old.
Crazy.
We were just talking about Darryl Strawberry. It was the same thing. Nuts. You don't even know better. You don't have any idea what life even is.
At 18,
to give an 18-year-old who doesn't really know who he is, he's not even stopped growing.
The world.
Yeah, and say, hey, be a good person, do what's right.
Jeez. Yeah,
nope.
That's a challenge.
For sure.
So when I was really happy at the end of that whole thing to go, man, all right, it sounds like
you had it figured out.
That dude did a bunch of stuff right.
Yep.
Well, and I think if anything, it was just the sobering reminder to the entire world of you don't know your time. You have to appreciate your moment and live life to the fullest every single day. And I think that's just every now and then we get that check of like, go make this day count. Like make this day matter and, communicate to the people you care about. Do what you were in purpose and you feel like you were created to do. Like, it's a great reminder.
Yeah. I had this Big Steve hat on,
Yeah.
Hillary's uncle. In his passing.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing.
Yeah.
He was here working out and all of a sudden.
That afternoon.
So it's important. I guess it's important to have that kind of little bit of just check sometimes and be like, wow. Yeah. All right, let's get this thing straightened out.
Yeah.
Somebody said on Instagram the other day, is that hat stand for bull?
Yeah.
I was trying not to say it. No, this is Big Steve.
Steve would probably find that funny.
He'd probably be
laughing.
He is chuckling right now.
Like
he's like, hey.
So, yeah. Well, on that somber note.
I know.
Hey, that was positive.
That was good. Yeah.
Go make today count.
Oh, okay.
Just kidding. Yeah, episode 82. Like I said, check out RP Strength app, Trifecta, and
Inside Tracker.
Peace.